Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and welcome to episode 6 of The Season Keepers, the show where the only two people we recommend keeping for the season is us. My name's Matt, aka Clean Sheet Wipeout.
And my name's James, aka FPL Drug.
Football's back, James!
It is!
Yeah.
It is. I consider this to be our first proper episode as the game that we all love has actually kicked off.
Finally.
Yeah.
It's been a long time waiting. We've done, 5 episodes before this,
Yeah, I didn't expect to do 5 pre-season episodes. I thought 1, maybe 2 max, but we kind of enjoyed it so much we kept making videos. So, and then that's the way we plan to carry on. Obviously, we're recording on a Sunday today. That's just due to I'm going on holiday next week, so I can't do the recording on the Tuesday like we normally do. But we'll be back to Tuesdays the following Tuesday after this one coming. So
we certainly will.
Keep an eye out for us on Tuesdays.
Yeah, definitely. But obviously, I think Sunday night, we've had 6 live games that no doubt we've both watched all 6. So it gives us something to talk about today. And obviously, we can chat about FPL and how we're getting on in there. We can cover Sky Fantasy. And even though we're halfway through the game week, we've still had a load of questions. So plenty to cover.
Yeah, we have. My FPL team's actually done. I've got no more players to play. No Brighton, no Chelsea, no Wolves or Sheffield United. So I'm all wrapped up.
Did you plan that because you knew you were going on holiday?
No, it's just
didn't want to worry about FPL and the missus would moan at you if you're on your phone.
No, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, let's jump straight into the games then. Should we talk about Arsenal Fulham to start with?
Yeah, I'll start. I was particularly impressed with Arsenal. I thought obviously it's a good fixture for them. Like that, hence why I've got Aubameyang in my team, and I made him captain because I fancy them to get goals against Fulham. The last time Fulham were in the Premier League, their defence was pretty shocking.
Yeah.
And it wasn't really any better yesterday. Arsenal were very impressive.
Yeah, 3-0 in the end, wasn't it? So.
Yeah, 3-0, solid performance. Obviously impressed by Willian. No sign of him having any problems aging or what the Chelsea fans were saying when they sold him. We're selling him at the right time. But to be honest, he looks still a class player. Some of the balls he was putting through were top quality.
Oh, yeah.
He's ended up with 3 assists in FPL, so that says it all.
Yeah, it really does. Obviously you got 3 assists, 2 bonus points because Gabriel stole all 3 bonus points this week with a goal and a clean sheet. I thought he had a brilliant game. On his debut, apparently lacking match fitness. Thought he played brilliantly. Yeah,
no, he was excellent. And I see Martin Keough made him man of the match. I personally would have picked Willian, but I think he's a defender, so he recognises a strong defensive performance and a goal. I think those who went on Gabriel sort of went under the radar, really. I think there's a lot of people, myself included, that have gone Tierney. But I think people have overlooked Gabriel. They weren't sure maybe if he was going to start straight away. Obviously, he's a top quality player, so you'd expect him to over the likes of the newer, younger talent coming in like Saliba. But great performance. And I think, is he 5 million?
Yeah, I think so.
That's good value, really.
A lot of people gambled on Saliba this weekend, both in Sky and in FPL. Obviously, as part of their lineups, and wasn't even the 18. I reckon.
Yeah, he didn't even make the bench. Yeah.
No, probably match fitness. To be fair, gonna try and ease him in, but Gabriel proved that if you're throwing him by Arteta, you can have a good game. I was particularly surprised, obviously, when the lineup came out. We kind of had a little leak-ish to start with because there was a team sheet that someone had zoomed into on Twitter, and it showed that Lacazette was starting up top. So obviously Nketiah was then benched, and we had Willian starting on the right instead of Saka. So there was a couple of cheaper options that looked like they might be rotated. That's my biggest worry with Arsenal is the rotation around kind of the forward line. Obviously Aubameyang generally nailed.
Yeah.
The other 4, I think you could see some quite heavy rotation between Pepe, Willian, Saka, and Nketiah, Lacazette.
That is what puts you off owning the likes of Willian. He may be less prone to rotation than the likes of like Saka and Pepe. But we're going to have to wait and see. Like, we've only had one game, so we can't really base it off anything at the moment.
No, but to get 3 assists in your first game, like, surely he doesn't get dropped for the next one.
No. I imagine Tottenham fans really hate him now. That snubbed him for Chelsea, and now he's gone to Arsenal.
Yeah, exactly. Did you see the spat between Nketiah and Ceballos?
Yeah, in the warm-up, wasn't it?
That was interesting. I mean, it shows that the players have got passion, but I don't think Arteta will want that to be broadcast on camera before the game.
No. Ceballos looked really good when he came on.
Yeah, no, agreed. He
Lots of tricks. Surprising.
Yeah, he was thrown in. But no, I was really impressed by Arsenal. Not so much Fulham. Obviously, Mitrovic was benched to start with, which...
Yeah, I don't get that. Like, the team he picked was very much a championship team. Like, I think you got to be playing your best players from the beginning, like Mitrovic. And I don't understand why Lamina wasn't even on the bench. Obviously, new, and maybe fitness might have been an issue. But, again, I think he'd have been better than what they had.
Yeah, possibly. I know there's a couple of mentions that Mitrovic might be lacking match fitness. You know, he picked up an injury towards the end of last season and whatnot. But you know, if he's fit enough to be on the bench, you got to start.
Yeah, playing
in a game like that. Like, you know, I think they did well. You know, maybe first 10, 15 minutes. I think Fulham were trying to ease their way into the game, and then Arsenal just upped the game. They turned the tempo on, and there was no stopping them. I think brilliant 3 points for Arsenal, really.
Yeah, great.
I have no intention of touching Fulham. So
No, I think I'll be staying away as well. Should we move on to our game?
Fucking hell, yeah.
Yeah. What was it? Frustrating.
We were shit. Yeah. I don't think there's any word to describe it. We were terrible. I was really surprised with the tempo that we came out to play. I know that we were looking to get in behind Palace, you know, with the wing backs with Walker-Peters and Bertrand, but they were far too high. Every time Palace got in behind, Jack Stevens, Bednarak and Vestergaard struggled because no one was there.
They're insanely high. They were so far forward.
Yeah.
During any phase of play, they seemed to be permanently up there.
Yep.
Yeah, as you say, with the tempo, frustratingly slow, never really got going. There was only very brief moments where we looked like we were going to be dangerous. Ings actually looked fairly decent, to be honest. In the he just didn't have any real service. Like, the chances he did have, he tried to take. Like, he still looked sharp without actually doing anything, which may not make sense. But I think he'll come good. So I'm not even thinking about taking him out of my team.
Okay, yeah. No, I agree. I think Ings, you know, he had very little to work on. It was just, I think Armstrong was a huge miss out on that right.
I think the difference between him and Smallbone is quite large.
Yeah, I don't think Smallbone was potentially the right player for the game. I would have maybe gone Gineppo. Is that right? Because he's got the pace, and as soon as you've got Walker-Peters bombing forward, Smallbone wasn't covering him, and then you're left with a massive hole in which, you know, Zaha, Townsend, you know, tore down the wing that he was running, and even when Eze came on, like, him and Zaha seemed to link up, and Palace should have scored 2 or 3. You know, Zaha obviously was just offside for one, and he should have scored for the other one that he was through when he put it into the side netting.
Yeah, I think Palace were pretty strong yesterday. Obviously a great save by Greater at the end. Very frustrating for me as a Kyle Walker-Peters Ings owner.
Likewise.
Yeah, beautiful cross and what I thought to be a beautiful finish.
Yeah, I think even Ingsy thought he had scored.
Yeah, a great save. But yeah, we just didn't have enough about us. And fair play to Palace. I think a lot of people have not put any Palace players in their team.
No.
Zaha's actually turned up.
Yep. No, and obviously Che Adams is a £6 million striker. Quite a few people have punted on him to start with. He struggled to get into the game, I think. Now, obviously, he had a chance. I expect us to improve on that performance. And if you've got Che, maybe it's probably worth holding on for these upcoming fixtures. I don't think you should be too rash this early in the game.
Yeah, I'd say so. I wouldn't move off him after one game. He needs more than one game. I think, especially after that Spurs performance we've just seen, I wouldn't really be quick to get rid of him. Like, I think he could quite easily score against Spurs, as could Ings.
Yeah, I was. We'll talk about it later, but I was thinking of maybe moving Ings on, but after watching that Spurs performance, now I'll hold. Let's jump on to Liverpool Leeds because I think this needs some talking about.
Yeah, fantastic game. Probably the best game of the weekend so far, I'd say.
Easily.
It flew by. I knew Leeds had a very kind of attacking, pressing style, but this was something else. This was insane. The work rate, the energy. Yeah. I couldn't believe it. I don't think Liverpool could believe it either, to be honest. That could have carried on forever, the way they were playing. Like,
exactly. Obviously,
it reminds you of like this sort of the old games I used to have, like Kevin Keegan, all that sort of stuff. All attacking, all-out attack, just chaos. It was great though. Great to watch.
Obviously finished 4-3 Liverpool. I really felt sorry for Leeds at the end there. Like giving away that last, or Rodrigo giving away the pen. Salah putting it away for
two pens. And I think it's a bit soft, especially the first one. I think I've seen them not given.
Off the knee and onto the hand, yeah. I think there's a few people touching on the rule. It does state that if there's a deflection off a part of your body onto your hand, technically shouldn't be a pen, but...
I did see that as well. So yeah, I think they can feel a bit unlucky. I think their performance merited at least a point, to be honest.
Yeah. I think Liverpool players to note, I thought Salah was brilliant. Leeds really struggled to cope with him. I know obviously two of his goals were pens and people will touch on that, but he looked so sharp.
Obviously, he still played really well. It wasn't just about the pens, in my opinion. I think he was just fantastic and reminded us of why he's one of, if not the best player in FPL.
Yeah, for the game to have priced Mane the same as Salah, I think is a mistake because it's
I'm never buying Mane. Like, not at that price.
No.
Like when you can buy Salah for the same. Like obviously previously Salah's been 13 million. You've had like Mane down at like 11 or 10 or something.
Yeah.
Then you consider Mane, but when they're the same price, it's an easy decision.
Oh yeah, and obviously that people have captained him. They've ended up with 40 points. It's one hell of a haul.
It is. I wish I did the same.
Oh god, yeah, same. But I do feel that there's a lot of people, particularly on Twitter, that are feeling a bit down because they don't own Salah. But if you look at his ownership, he's only owned by 32% of the game. So 68% don't have him. So
over 2/3 of us don't actually own him. So
I wouldn't.
Minority own him.
No. Yeah. Going further back in Liverpool, I thought Robbo was a lot better than Trent.
I agreed, and that's kind of frustrating because I switched Robbo to Trent because I thought I had the extra money, so I might as well get Trent because he's on free kicks.
Yeah.
But there you go. It turns out that Robbo is carrying on his form from the back end of last season. He was the better option than Trent at the back end of last season, and he still is at the moment by the looks of it.
Yeah, Trent just seemed a little bit off it. I'm hoping, it's just temporary and he'll grow into the games as they come. Obviously,
Yeah, it's one game. I think he'll get his fitness back and he'll be stronger again. So I'm not going to move off him yet. I think I'll give him at least 4 games, I think.
Oh, yeah. I sincerely hope he knew what he was doing with that header, though, because to put that into the back of the net is an own goal from an offside.
I was like, what the fuck are you doing?
No idea. I watched it and I hadn't even noticed that the bloke was offside. And I thought, Harrison, obviously, he's lobbed the keeper. Brilliant. But then Trent goes and fucking heads it into the back of his own net.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Thankfully got called back. That would have topped Trent's performance off, really.
Yeah. I think certain Leeds players impressed for me. I think I was very impressed by Harrison.
Yeah.
He was excellent. Klitsch's goal was fucking clinical.
It was, yeah.
Great touch and then just smashed it in.
Yep, no, agreed. I think Harrison, for me, was probably the standout performance. I even thought Ayling had a relatively good game. You're going to struggle as a fullback against, that front three running at you. But I thought he played quite well. Dallas had a decent game. And Bamford was kind of gifted a goal by Van Dijk. Terrible mistake. He just looked so arrogant when that ball came to him. And obviously Bamford then capitalised. But no, I thought Leeds actually played really well, and I'm hoping they keep it. I think they'll no doubt probably shock a few teams this season.
Yeah. I think I almost want like 2 Leeds players going into the game against Fulham. I've only got Eiling at the moment, but I feel like I want one of their attacking players, like one of the attacking mids or a striker, because they look really good going forward. Really
they're really, really well priced. I did quite enjoy it on the commentary. Jamie Carragher seemed to have good fun every time he mentioned the word cock. So that was quite amusing. Of course, Carragher was going to touch on that. But again, I thought he played really well.
Cock?
They were... is it Cooper that they were missing?
Yeah, Cooper. He should be coming back. I think he will come back for the other lad, the 4 million lad.
Yeah.
Came in.
Yeah, no, I think he will. So it's definitely worth looking at Leeds. I maybe won't necessarily look at them defensively for now, but if you're looking for a cheaper midfield option, the likes of Harrison, Click, yeah, I think they're
5.5 mids. They're in that zone.
Yeah. Let's go on to the evening game on Saturday then. Obviously, Newcastle 2, West Ham 0.
Yeah, it took a while to get going. First, it was very dull. It was like a Sam Allardyce sort of game.
Yeah.
But the second half was a lot better. I think obviously after Newcastle's first goal, it opened up a bit more. I think Callum Wilson was excellent. His movement, he's given Newcastle something they not really had, which is a strong, fast striker, someone that runs in behind. Like Joel Linton, obviously he's a big man, he's strong, but he's not fast. And then obviously in the past, Mitrovic, again, strong, but he's not fast. Whereas now they've got Wilson, who's got a bit of pace to get in behind, so he can benefit from long passes from the likes of Shelby, who can ping a ball around.
Yeah.
I think Son Maximin,
frustrating.
I think his problem is sort of almost Theo Walcott syndrome, where his end product is never really there in terms of both assists and actual finishing.
Yeah, no,
great, and take it around 3 or 4 players and look quality, but just the final product isn't really there.
Well, there was that moment in the second half where he ran all the way through and then just kind of got the ball stuck under his feet, ended up not being able to play the pass off, and I think that summed up his game. I'm not sure if he was helped by the fact that, we had that surprising team sheet where Wilson was played up top with Andy Carroll. I don't think playing Saint-Maximin wide left particularly helped his game. Obviously, we had Almiron and Fraser both on the bench. Whether we see that regularly, I don't know, or whether we'll have Wilson and then the 3 of them in behind. But I thought Andy Carroll actually had quite a good game. Obviously, he throws his elbows about, which was consistently picked up on. But maybe against teams where they feel they need to break them down or there's a bit of height at the back, we might see Wilson paired with Carroll a bit more. So it's one to keep an eye on.
Yeah, I think he had a good game. I won't be considering him, but I think he had a good game.
Yeah.
And I was impressed with Newcastle. That's why I've got Wilson and Son Maximin in my team. I don't think I'll be moving off of either of them just yet. I'll probably keep watching Son Maximin, see how he does, but because there's a lot of options in that price bracket to move off on.
Yeah, and obviously the other new boy that not many people were really talking about was Hendrick. And he got a goal and an assist and 3 bonus points. So
very impressive performance. I do like him as a player. I think he was very good at Burnley, and he put in a performance I think not many expected, to be honest.
No, I don't think they did. I can't imagine many people. Quickly check his ownership. He's owned by 0.7% of the game. There you go.
There you go.
That sums up everybody's expectations. And yet he comes out, goal, assist, bonus. He ends up, I think it's 14 points. Right, there you go. So it hasn't really made a dent in the game. Fair play to anyone that does own him. But he was never a consideration for me. West Ham, on the other hand, they were dog. I I don't want to say that just yet. Obviously, we've got West Ham fans that listen to the pod and stuff. But other than, they hit the crossbar twice, but they lacked fight. It really did.
I'm disappointed with Antonio. I thought I'd see a bit more from Antonio.
Yeah.
He's normally always sort of in the game, like looking like he's going to score, but I don't think he was that great, to be honest.
No, neither do I. And obviously, they now go into this horrendous run of fixtures after this one. So for them to not pick up any points against Newcastle, they seriously have to up their game if they're not going to be, potentially bottom of the league after this run of 8 games. Because judging by what they showed yesterday, anybody could turn them over at the moment.
If they were going to pick up any points, you'd have thought it would have been this week. So not a great outlook for West Ham fans, but maybe the pressure's off, so to speak, as people don't expect them to pick up points on this run. So they might want to prove people wrong. They might want to use that to motivate themselves. But obviously, morale in the camp isn't too high after selling Diangana and not really bringing anyone in.
No, and I think that showed. There seemed to be a real lack of cohesiveness between the players and a lack of fight. Newcastle were first to many goals, and I don't think the likes of Noble's comments on Twitter have probably helped, because he's come out. Obviously, the fans are then also raging as well, and they now see that the players are unhappy about the situation, and it showed on the pitch, and that's a real worry for West Ham.
Agreed. I'd like to mention the performance from Lewis. I think that was a great performance.
He played really well.
Yeah, as attacking as I expected him to be. I think he's definitely a good option for teams. The only reason why I didn't put him in my team was because I didn't want a Newcastle triple up. But maybe that wouldn't have been such a bad thing. I mean, I had a clean sheet, and I would have had a goal from Wilson. It would have just been Sol Maximin let me down. But even he got 3 points, which isn't that bad for a 5-point.
It's not horrendous. I went Lascelles. I didn't go Lewis purely because I was unsure whether he'd actually start. That was my only thinking. But I think Lewis is probably the better option. Particularly, he was bombing forward. I can see him getting a few assists this season if he keeps doing that. So,
yeah, I think so. Especially with obviously having Wilson actually finishing chances potentially up front now. Ones which Joel Linton may have skied before might be going in.
Yeah, they might do.
Shall we move on to today, the first of today's games?
First of today's game, I watched obviously Leicester 3, West Brom 0. I was a little disappointed. I felt for West Brom because I thought they played really well. They kind of, stifled Leicester. I don't think Vardy had a particularly great game, in all honesty. Obviously, ended up with 2 goals, 2 pens. Took them brilliantly. There was no getting to either of them, but it took Leicester a while to get going.
Yeah, well, West Brom were in it for most of the game, playing well, looking okay, even putting pressure on Leicester. So I think the final result is a bit harsh on them. Obviously, the 2 pens kind of compound that. But yeah, I think maybe if you've got West Brom players, don't panic, I'd say, so to speak. Give them other games. They may shine. Obviously, they're going to have the likes of games against Fulham.
Yep.
The lower half opposition to come.
They'll have them.
You don't really expect them to pull up any trees against Leicester.
No. I was particularly surprised. Justin started at left back, and Castagna, or however you want to pronounce his name, started at right back. And I thought that was quite surprising because obviously everybody was a bit worried that as soon as Pereira comes back, Justin will be the one to be knocked out of the team because Pereira plays right back. So
that may not be the case. Yeah.
Does that mean that he's going to cement that spot there? Because obviously Fuchs is still at Leicester, and I think he's the one that potentially would cover at left back. But with Chilwell gone, is Justin now the option that Rodgers is going to?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure what the thinking is there. I don't know if he's done it just because based on West Brom as opposition. I don't know if West Brom's right winger is particularly pacey, so they wanted Justin to cover that. I don't know what the thinking is really.
No, I'd keep an eye, because if Justin regularly, say for the next 2 or 3 games, and obviously if you've got him, keep him. But if for the next 2 or 3 games, if he keeps playing left back, then perhaps that risk of Pereira coming back isn't there. And he's a great asset at 4.5 million for a Leicester team if, they play as well as they did, say, second half today.
Yeah, I think if you've got him, yeah, definitely keep him. Obviously, their fixtures do sort of take a turn for the worse after this game.
Yeah.
So it's a decision I wouldn't rush into. I wouldn't say go bring him in now. I'd say maybe, as you say, see if he keeps playing left back, then he may be one that stays there for the season. But
yeah,
it might have just been a 1-game thing. We don't know.
It might be. If you've got him, keep him, because they do play Burnley at home next. Then obviously they've got City away, but then they've got the double up at home of West Ham and Villa. So there's potential clean sheets in there, particularly against West Ham, which we've seen. So yeah, it could be a real good asset. And obviously yourself, you've got Jamie Vardy benefit. There's 2 pens today.
Very pleased, very relieved as well. I was bricking it for the first pen and just a little bit less anxious about the second one. I thought, because you've got Johnston in goal, I'm like, he fucking pen save. So
and
I've up the air both times.
I've heard good things about Johnston and pen saves as well. So I was
yeah, so did I. That was running through my head. I was thinking, oh God, please score this. Please score.
Of course, Vardy then pops up with 2. But yeah, I don't think he had a particularly thrilling game. But
that's the thing. Jamie Vardy always does that. He doesn't necessarily even have a good game. He just sticks that one shit chance in the back of the net, and it's different stories. He gets a couple of bonus points and points for the goal. He's a very good player to have in FPL.
Oh, he is. He'll still score, probably edging towards 20 goals this season. So
yeah, exactly. And I think you just need to ignore any XG kind of stats, because he just throws it out the window.
He does. He likes to break an XG. Final game then. Spurs Everton. Let's talk about Everton first, because I've got a lot to say about Spurs afterwards.
Okay. Well, very impressive Everton. Particularly James Rodriguez was playing some, as you'd expect, coming from Madrid and Bayern, some excellent balls through to the likes of Calvert-Lewin, Richarlison. I think the link up between him and Richarlison might be quite exciting. I think it's kind of frustrating that I don't really have a player around 7.5 million. So I either downgrade a premium or I try and somehow upgrade one of these 5.5s, but then obviously I have to sacrifice a premium elsewhere. But
yeah, he's at a tricky price point.
He is. It's awkward. So that's probably why I won't even bring him in, even though I'm impressed with what I've seen.
He may end up being the assister of the assist occasionally, because I think we could see the link up again this season of Richarlison and Calvert-Lewin. I think
potentially,
had there been a bit more sharpness, Richarlison early on could have easily squared the ball to Calvert-Lewin. Instead, he stumbled. See, Calvert-Lewin scored a great header, which I benefited from, thankfully. But
brilliant header. Great cross as well from.
Yeah, but another player, I know we won't really see much benefit from him in the FPL game, but might do in the Sky, particularly tackle tiers, was Alan. I thought he was brilliant. Obviously, he got man of the match, which I was a bit unsure about, to be fair, but he did a brilliant job in that role. Really stifled Spurs' attack. And again, him and Decore in behind that kind of front 4, I guess you'd call it, they could keep quite a few clean sheets.
Yeah, I think I was thinking about Decore for the Sky game.
You were, well. Yeah.
I think both of those sort of centre mids would be good for the Sky game because of the tackles and the other bits they do that don't really necessarily get rewarded in FPL.
No.
Obviously, Sky does take note of that.
Yeah, it was an interesting tactic. And I know they tried to cover it on Sky. I didn't really understand it. Everton seemed to be playing when they're defending free kicks from outside the box. They're kind of having 4 in behind and then 4 just in front, almost like zonal marking in a line for 2 spaces, which I've never seen before. And I know Gary Neville spoke about it on Sky as well. It's something that was quite surprising to see. It seems a little strange, but obviously it's something that they're working on the training ground. So,
right, yeah, it clearly didn't go wrong. Obviously, normally people can take advantage of zonal marking.
Yeah,
where you're marking no one essentially. Some people sometimes.
Well, exactly, because there wasn't really a lot to mark, was there?
No. Yeah, not much movement from Spurs.
They were shit.
Very lethargic.
Yeah.
Didn't look like they wanted to even be there.
No, it was really.
So they were literally at times sulking on the pitch basically after they went behind.
No, I know. It was a really strange performance. There was no drive. Harry Kane was completely anonymous. Son wasn't really there, to be fair. Obviously, Dele Alli got brought off at half time. I don't understand what Mourinho was trying to get at. And I don't know, obviously, we've seen in these all or nothing videos that at half time he tries to put a point across and blah, blah, blah. But
it might be an interesting episode with bringing Ali off at half time.
Well, yeah, but
water bottle get thrown.
They're not fucking. They're clearly not performing. Like Doherty, I thought he played okay down on the right. And he was really high, which is good to see. Potentially could have scored. But the rest of that Spurs team, there was no passion. They almost seem tired already. And that's a real worry given they've now got the League Cup games and the Europa League games to play alongside this Prem. So they're playing every 3 days. It's a horrendous schedule. And to go into games in the manner in which they did today, they're going to get turned over.
Yeah. Well, I was surprised to see a team look so negative, considering it's the first game. You think they'd be a bit more up for it.
I know, and obviously it's not like the crowd are getting on their back because the stadiums are empty. So I just didn't understand it.
Yeah,
didn't get it at all. But in a way, I'm kind of glad because Saints play them next. So we need a game to pick ourselves up. And if Spurs turn up the same way as they did today, we've got a good chance.
Well, hopefully we don't get a reaction from this. Hopefully they don't take it out on us, so to speak. But I think we will be hopeful based on that performance by them. I think I can see Ings scoring no problem against Spurs. I would not bench Ings just because Tottenham's a harder fixture in general.
No.
My rule of thumb for last season was start Ings regardless of who he's playing, and that kind of worked for me, to be honest. Because he can score against tougher opposition. He's so clinical.
Yeah, no, he really can.
He needs that one chance. He's a bit similar to Vardy in that manner.
Yeah, no, agreed. But I don't know. Spurs were just surprisingly woeful, and I don't think that's a great performance for the start of the season. So, no doubt.
Well, I expected more from them. I felt like I was a bit sort of wary of going without the likes of Son and even Harry Kane, because I saw a lot of people were bringing him in. I thought, it might be on the end of like a 3-1 Spurs win, and complete opposite, really.
Yeah, I had Dele Alli in a lot of drafts, but thankfully he never made it into my final team. Should we move on to tomorrow's games then? Make a couple of predictions, seeing as you're pissing off.
I think so. So first up, Sheffield United Wolves.
Yep.
I personally think this is going to be a 1-0 win to Wolves.
Okay.
Jimenez goal. No idea who's going to set it up because Doherty's not there anymore. But I think it's going to be a 1-0 win for Wolves, I think.
I'm going to say 2-1 Wolves. And I'm sincerely hoping that Podence either gets on the score sheet or at least gets an assist, given I've taken the gamble on him at $5.5 million.
He's going to get sub 50 minutes, mate.
Hey, you cheeky bastard.
And he get booked because he's going off.
No, I'm excited to see how Wolves get on. I'm hoping the Doherty issue doesn't really affect them, but we'll have to see. Brighton Chelsea, on the other hand, I can't wait to see Chelsea.
I'm a bit anxious, obviously, because I don't own any Chelsea players. I'm worried about mainly number one, Timo Werner. I think I'm expecting at least a couple of goals. I'm expecting 2 goals from
hoping.
Werner.
I am really hoping.
My prediction is 2-0 to Chelsea.
Okay.
I think Brighton won't get completely smashed like some people might think they do. They will. But I'm thinking 2-0 Chelsea. And maybe a Havertz assist for one of the Werner goals, and then maybe one from a holding midfielder setting up the second goal.
I'm going to predict 3-0 Chelsea, with Werner getting 2, and then Pulisic potentially coming off the bench to grab a third. So we'll have to see, won't we?
Yeah, I think either of those is probably going to happen. Not looking forward to it. My FPL team is...
Might have to make a few changes.
Yeah, like 9.5. I think Werner's been a bit undervalued. So
yeah, agreed.
I'll be looking to bring him in somehow. But the thing is, I'm quite happy with the strikers I've got.
Yeah. So touching on that then, seeing as you've said that your team is all out now, how have you got on so far?
So obviously, bonus is yet to be updated as we speak, but I will be on 72 points.
Decent,
which I'm pretty pleased with, to be honest. As a first game week, I think that's not bad. I think anything above 60 generally tends to be a good score in any given game week. So the bulk of my points obviously came from Mo Salah. I didn't captain him, but
neither did I.
At least I had him.
Yeah, exactly.
Captain Aubameyang, so I got 7 double to 14. And then my other key players were Vardy, Wilson and Tierney.
Decent.
I was happy with Tierney, got a clean sheet. Was playing quite far forward at points as well, almost on the left wing. So I hope that continues, as he'll have potential for assists, maybe a goal, but I'm more hopeful of assists.
Yeah, no, it's decent score to start with. That's kind of what you need, isn't it? Cement a platform and then build from it.
Yeah, I'm happy with it. I'm not going to be changing my team too much. I might not even make a transfer next week. So
there you go.
Yeah.
I'm as soon as DCL's 2 bonus points get added, I'm on 57 at the moment, and I've got Werner and Podence to play. So I'm hoping Werner does, do as we both predict and gets a couple of attacking returns, and I should be able to match you. So fingers crossed.
Yeah. If he does and Podence does nothing, then yeah, you probably will match me, to be honest.
Yeah, and like you said, I also captained Aubameyang. Obviously 7 double to 14. It's not 20 double to 40, but we've hit a captain return, and I think anything above 10 is a captaincy return. You've done well. That's the way I calculate it at the end of the season of how many times I hit it. Was as long as it's above 10, I think it's a good captaincy. So,
agreed. I'm
Yeah,
not
it's a good start.
disappointed with that. I'm not going to beat myself up because they were playing Fulham. It was kind of an obvious captain to pick.
Yeah.
It's not like I've gone out there and picked a weird pick. Like Aubameyang was pretty straightforward, and he has returned. It's just obviously you can't see a hat trick coming.
No, and I think I'll probably be captaining him against West Ham after watching them. So
yeah, after seeing West Ham, I think I may well be captain Aubameyang again as well.
Yeah. How have you? Obviously, we're both playing Sky for the first time this season, and I think it's fair to say we're both really enjoying it. The strategy behind it, the fact that you can pick a captain for each game day rather than a game week. There's real thought in kind of getting your points and learning about tackle tiers and passing tiers and shot tiers. It's good fun. But how have you got on so far?
Yeah, I'm enjoying it. I think I've done pretty well, to be honest. One of my teams, I've captained Salah on the first game day, and then Vardy today, and I've got Werner to come. So it's a very good performance from a team. I think one's on 96,
nice,
and the other's on 84. So it's looking good so far.
There you go. Now I'm on 87 and 78, and I think everybody has probably Werner captain tomorrow, don't they? So.
Yeah, if they haven't, then they've, I think, missed a boat there or missed a trick. But be interesting to see how we both get on in this. We're both new to it. I'd recommend giving it a go. It looks pretty fun, to be honest, with all the different tiers and.
Yeah, it's very strategy based, and it's something I quite enjoy looking into. So, obviously.
Yeah, I've already had to create a spreadsheet to try and track what's going on.
Yeah, thankfully I've obviously mentioned before that I'm part of Fantasy Football Hub, so I managed to get the spreadsheet that they've generated there, and yeah, it's so helpful just to plan out the captaincies that you need and the players that you need to bring in. Obviously, I've got a transfer plan for 3 game weeks time because I know that I need a City asset, so it's one of those. But no, I'm looking forward to talking about Sky. We might not be able to give much detail, tactically and stuff, but the more we learn, I think the more the people learn that are listening to the pod. So
Yeah, definitely. Be interesting to keep talking about it.
yeah.
I understand we've got quite a few questions this week.
Yes. Shall we get on to them? Because obviously we're pushing 45 minutes now. So right, first question is from FPL Dronic. Did Salah play really well, or was he just lucky in the fact that they got 2 pens? In my eyes, Liverpool were poor and Salah didn't convince me. Dronic, by any chance, do you not have Salah?
Not here to answer, but I would personally say he still played well. I think he was at the heart of everything Liverpool were doing attacking-wise. I think he looked very sharp. He looked interested. He looked up for it. I think it was a great performance. Even pens aside, I think he played very well.
Agreed.
So,
obviously,
I don't want to get rid of him now, which was my plan, to downgrade to KDB, but that's not going to happen now, I don't think.
Yeah, I originally had the plan to go Salah to Bruno, but I think Palace might be a trickier game than we expect for Man United, and obviously they play Arsenal game week 2, but then they play Villa, Everton, Sheffield United, West Ham. Do I really want to get rid of Salah? So I might have to find another way of bringing in a United asset.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to have to do some thinking.
Yeah. We've got another question in from Q and Jekyll's. I'm really sorry if I've fucked your name up there, but it's at Maestro1985. What do you make of Ings' performance yesterday? Felt like Adams played better. Do you think it was a one-off weak performance from Southampton?
I would say they both had a lack of decent quality service put into them. So I think their performances were very similar. I think they didn't have much to go on, but the chances they did have, they looked up for it. They looked sharpish. I think it's too early to be going off after 1 game week, going off of them. I know you're going to see the likes of DCL and think, I could save 1.5 million if I downgrade Ings, or I can just pay an extra mil to get him if you're on Adams.
Yeah.
But I think you're moving off them too prematurely if you're only giving them 1 game away at Palace. I think you'd give them at least next game home to Spurs, a poor-looking Spurs. I wouldn't make any rash decisions or be taking hits, which I've been seeing already.
No, I think I'd agree. I expect Saints to up the game. I think a lot of people do. As we've touched on already, it was a surprise to see us so slow. And I think a week on the training ground with Hassan, hopefully he'll drive that out of the players, because it's not what we saw post-lockdown, and I expected similar. So fingers crossed we come out firing in the next game. He also threw in another question. So Maximin never lived up to the hype as Newcastle played a different formation. Do you think it will suit him?
I think he's still going to be involved in a lot of action, so to speak. I think he has the potential for assists and goals. It's just whether he can be a bit more clinical, like I mentioned earlier. I think with Wilson up front instead of Joel Linton, I think he's going to get more assists this year.
Yeah. No, I'd agree. I don't think the formation was particularly brilliant for him, but I don't expect to see Callum Wilson playing alongside Carroll every game week. So,
no, I think that was a one-off against like a strong physical West Ham.
Yeah, that's what I'm expecting. I think it's potentially a formation they'll use against the teams that are physical defensively. But if you're looking to get in behind a team, surely you're better off playing, St. Maximin, Fraser, and Almiron in behind Wilson, rather than Andy Carroll.
A much more pacier attack. Yeah.
We've got a question in from 2.0. Actually, 2 questions. So, what is the biggest mistake? Is it not owning or captaining Salah, or is it going double Liverpool defence?
I mean, it would depend on the double defenders you've picked from Liverpool. I think if you've got like a Gomez and a fullback, I think that's maybe a mistake.
Yeah.
But Van Dijk and a fullback, I think's not actually that bad a decision.
No, I don't think
as we've seen, is good in the air, and we'll get clean sheets as well.
Yeah.
And the fullbacks are obviously, we know enough about them to have them in your team. So I think you shouldn't be writing off Trent at this stage at all. So I think it depends on the double up you've picked.
Yeah, I think in short, I don't think any of those are a mistake. Maybe, it's not a mistake to not own Salah because, there was the anticipation that, he might not start as quickly as he did, but he's renowned for scoring 1 or 2 in the first game week of the season. And like we've touched on, 2/3 of the game don't own him. So that's not a mistake. Again, captaincy, people went Oba, people went Salah. It happens in game week 1. And if you've got Trent and Robbo, I wouldn't be coming off because we know what they can return. They could both get 2 assists and a clean sheet in a game. And how pissed off would you be if you get rid of Trent this game week? For him, albeit, they might not keep a clean sheet against Chelsea, but he scores a free kick and he gets an assist. Right? It could happen.
Okay. Yeah.
So the other question that he threw out, which I'm just going to answer is no one is essential, is 2.0 says, is Jack Harrison essential? No. Short and sweet, no. We've got another question in from FPL Man of God. Werner, Willian, or Martial and Pulisic? First team leaves me with no Man United coverage along with no Salah. So I'm presuming that means Werner and Willian would mean that he doesn't get any Man United coverage, whereas obviously he wants to bring in Martial and Pulisic. Was
he saying that? Does that imply that Martial and Pulisic he also have Salah? Because that would definitely then be the better option.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. The question is a little bit difficult to understand, but yeah, that would be my guess, is because he says the first team leaves me with no Man United coverage along with no Salah. But unless he's not planning to get Salah in, either way, I think Martial, Pulisic maybe be the better long-term option. But for the short term, whilst we don't know, Pulisic's fitness and how Man United get on, Werner and Willian. But it's a tricky call, I think, that one. Yeah. Especially if you want Salah in either option.
I'd go for the latter, but it's a tricky option.
Yeah, no, agreed. Final question then. We've got Rich, FPL. He is asking whether people are still going to be doing the Salah move away this game week, or are we now swayed by his performance and the fact that Crystal Palace look more resolute and could be a problem to Man United?
It's a very good question. Obviously, I was planning on moving Salah to KDB. I think the ballsy thing to do would be to still do it. I think potentially that might be the right decision as well, to move off of him because he's got Chelsea next. He may not return the next game. And then you've got KDB in for Wolves, who is probably more likely to get a return against Wolves than Salah is against Chelsea.
Yep.
However, it's obviously very difficult to take out a player that's just scored a hat-trick. One, you look insane for doing it. And 2, he's obviously in form and sharp. So he could. There's nothing to stop him going to get 2 against Chelsea. Like, that could quite easily happen. And you'd be kicking yourself for taking him out. You'd think you're mad. So I don't think I want to be too ballsy at this stage in the season. I think I'll probably save the transfer and maybe perhaps move Aubameyang on to KDB after he's had his game against West Ham.
Yeah, no, I'm going to agree with you because I know at the beginning of the season I said if you make a plan, try and stick to it. But just seeing how sharp Salah was, and obviously he's on pens. Even if he doesn't return against Chelsea, they've got Villa after that. I expect he'll get another return in that game. I don't want to miss out. And then we could see, Salah potentially rise in price, if people start to jump on him. I don't want to take him out now to then not be able to afford him back in.
Exactly. I think, if you ship him out, you might forget about bringing him back in.
Yeah.
And that's when you start missing out. I think owning him for the entire season, you're going to get that 250 plus points that he gets.
Yeah, and I was going to, my view was to bring in Bruno in game week 2 for Salah, and then KDB in for Aubameyang in game week 3. So I think I'll still do the Aubameyang out, KDB in, because there's a good swing of fixtures there between, City and Arsenal. But I might not even bring in a United asset just yet, and then see how they perform this week against Palace. And if they do go big, then I can go Aubameyang, KDB, and then maybe upgrade Ings if again he hasn't performed to someone like Martial. I've left $1 million in the bank for that reason. So it allows a bit of swing either way, and I'd probably recommend to everybody give it a bit of time. Don't make rash decisions. Obviously, if you had the plan to wildcard, because you might have set your team up for this one game week, and then you look at it next week and you think, fuck, those fixtures are terrible. But if your plan was to definitely go for a certain player and you're in two minds about it, maybe think, is it worth the transfer? Because I try and look at it as, if the player that I'm taking out, I need the player that I'm bringing in to at least match his returns. And if it's for a hit, he has to get at least 4 more. So is he going to? Because if the answer in your mind is I don't know, don't make the transfer.
Yeah, and avoid the hit, because you forget about the 4 points.
Agreed. Well, I think that calls an end to the show then, mate. You probably have to start packing, ready for your little trip.
I have to prepare for my trip to Scotland. It's been great talking to you, Matt, and I thoroughly look forward to making the next video next week.
Agreed, yeah. As always, we really appreciate everybody's questions. Obviously, jump on YouTube, get subscribing if you can. Any likes, we're available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google, and all your usual podcast providers. So get liking, people, and we'll speak to you next week. Thanks very much, James.
Cheers. See you later, Matt.
See you. Bye.